Hey, how's it going, everybody, and welcome back into the SFS channel. My name is Gavin, and today we're going to be talking some fantasy football lineup advice for Week 2 action here. Week 1's in the books, Monday Night Football is now complete, and we are moving straight into things here for this week's up-and-coming matchups. I've got 5 running backs I think are must-start players this week and should have very relevant lineup value and upside for us to carry us to the finish line in these Week 2 games. So, without further ado, drop down, give today's video a like, subscribe if you're new around here. Let's hit that intro and get straight into our players. Alrighty, here we go. So we had some pretty dang good success with our picks for both running backs and wide receivers last week. But ultimately, a lot of our running backs dropped like flies and got injured. So let's hope that's not the case this week. Let's hope these guys can stay more healthy. We lost Raheem Mostert right away in that Sunday game against the Lions. And then additionally, after I posted the video last week, Gus Edwards, we found the news out about his ACL being torn. And I think that was just over 24 hours post uploading that video. So very unfortunate news there, but Chase Edmonds had a very quality game for us. Phillip Lindsay was able to find the end zone. And then our one dud last week of all of our picks was James Robinson, who had a very letdown performance against the Texans. And I think that the Jags should try and implement some more run game for their offense this week. But nonetheless, we're on to Week 2 now. Just a little bit of a recap from last time around. But Damien Harris makes my list. The top guy. Well, these aren't in any particular order. These are 5 names that I think should be in lineups this week. Damien Harris, the New England Patriots starter against the Jets this week, I think is a very advantageous matchup. This is a group that I think the Pats will ultimately run the table and control the ultimate game script for both teams in this matchup. I think the Pats are just the better team. They're going to control the clock, run the football, and just pound it out against the Jets and ultimately just, I don't want to go as far as to say dominate, but I think they're going to have their way with this team. That offensive line for New England was absolutely crazy good against the Dolphins. They were a lot better than I expected them to be. I knew this was a good Patriots offensive line, but the way that they were moving blockers out of the way and the way that they were creating space for Damien Harris was very impressive to watch. And seeing how he found and was a patient runner, found the open holes and exploded out of them. 23 carries, 100 yards. I was very, very happy with what I saw from Damien Harris, despite the fact that he doesn't catch many passes or have too elite of upside. This is a dang good floor play every week, and for a player who's getting that level of volume on the ground, there's a lot of upside to be had here. Imagine if he finds the end zone a couple times. The one concern people are going to have with Damien Harris this week is the fact that he did fumble, and we know Bill Belichick hates self-forced errors, and he hates mistakes, mental mistakes. That is concerning. But what gives me a little bit more comfortability, and this isn't exactly a great thing, but the next man up who I'd expect to see legitimate rushing value. Now, I know James White's going to have his role in the passing game. I know he'll be utilized in that way. Ramondre Stevenson's the next backup who I would expect to see meaningful touches out of the backfield as a rusher. He fumbled on his first NFL carry. So you're looking at both Patriots running backs who ultimately had lost fumbles that probably contributed to them losing this game against the Dolphins in Week 1, that is. So for that reason, I don't think that we're going to see Damien Harris's workload be pulled back because the next man up also goofed up and also had his own self-enforced error. So Damien Harris, I think, will be fine. It doesn't mean I think Bill Belichick is going to be too happy with this running back room after the issues they had in Week 1. But moving forward, I don't expect a reduction in Damien Harris's volume. Again, I think the Pats will control the pace of this game against the Jets, and ultimately Damien Harris should see a very quality amount of workload this week. Aaron Jones. Now, typically this would be a sit-and-forget type player. A lot of people's RB1, or in some cases, he would be a very, very good RB2 for some teams. The Packers stunk it up last week, and so I think a lot of us are going to have some second thoughts. A lot of us are going to be very, very cautious when starting our Packers this week, but they're playing the Detroit Lions. This team inevitably will bounce back. There's too much talent on the football field for this team to be that awful that they were last week, only scoring a field goal and letting up, 35 points, maybe even 38. It was a nightmare. It was the worst case scenario. It cannot get worse than this. A.J. Dillon was on the field late in the game because the Packers pulled all their starters and put the twos in. But the Lions, this is a good matchup. The Packers should win this football game. Now, the Lions did come back and make a run late against the 49ers, but I still think that Green Bay will have a comeback effort here. They just looked tired, gassed, unprepared. Everything looked just not the way you want it to. And I think the main contributing factor to that was all the noise around this team in the offseason. It was probably quite exhausting, very distracting, and players weren't exactly focused on the Saints week one because they were all zoned in on, is Aaron Rodgers going to be our quarterback or is it going to be Jordan Love? So you got the cobwebs dusted off here. You've gotten yourself a kick in the butt. You're ready to go now for week 2, playing the Lions, who let up 130-plus rushing yards in week 1 to a variety of different players, but the main contributor was Elijah Mitchell in his first career NFL game, the second of the 2 rookie running backs the 49ers selected in this year's draft class. Trey Sermon, was a healthy scratch, so he wasn't out there on the field last week. Mitchell had 19 carries, 104 yards, and a rushing touchdown. So if he can produce that well against the Detroit Lions defensive unit, Aaron Jones can have himself a very good game as well, adding the fact that he's a very capable receiving threat and should be utilized out of the backfield in that fashion. I think there's a lot of upside here. I think we can continue to be comfortable and confident with Aaron Jones' fantasy value heading into this week's matchup against the Lions. Melvin Gordon. So this is one I think is very, very interesting here. It's inevitable. At some time or another, the calling is going to be for Javonte Williams to take over this offense as a 3-down back. That time is not week 2 against the Jacksonville Jaguars. I loved Courtland Sutton in my 5 must-start wide receivers video, which is also going up and being posted today. But Melvin Gordon has an equal opportunity here to also have himself a very productive outing. Why do I say that week 2 is not the time for Javonte Williams to take the grasp of this offense? Melvin finished out his game with a 70-yard rushing touchdown. If you're going to make a statement and tell a coaching staff why you should stay in the football game as the team's lead rusher, do that. Melvin Gordon did it. He outran everyone on the field in what was a very slow, sluggish game for both of those players who were splitting touches just about equally until that point in the matchup. Melvin blew the top off the defense, took one to the house, and finished on the highest of high notes. So going into this week against the Jaguars, who allowed Mark Ingram to have a very productive week 1, again, another surprising player for me who I didn't expect to see 20-plus touches, 80-plus yards on the ground, and a rushing touchdown. But if Mark Ingram can do that at that stage in his career, Melvin can absolutely come out here and produce this week against that weaker Jags defensive unit. DeAndre Swift, on the other side of that Green Bay Packers-Detroit Lions matchup, he showed us he can get the job done in a game where the game script got flipped on him. He was still able to be very productive, and I said the one thing heading into this matchup, I did not like DeAndre Swift last week, but I said if he's able to make a big-time play out in space as a receiver, he can save his lineup value, and he can come out here and put up quality numbers. He did that. He caught a pass out in space, took it to the house. He was more productive as a receiving threat than he was as a rusher in week 1, and that's kind of what I anticipated had to be the case for him, because it was going to be tough sledding against that 49ers front 7 unit, actually trying to run between the tackles, but he got the job done. The Packers are a much, much easier matchup. This team struggles to stop the run. They only play, I say this every time I talk about the Packers defense, they only play one true rushing down defensive lineman. That's Kenny Clark. Everyone else out there, their purpose is to pass rush and stop the pass. You can have your way with this team. Alvin Kamara did very well in week 1, and I think DeAndre Swift's going to come out here and do very well in week 2 against this group. Swift, again, has that upside. He can be a pass catcher. He can be used on the goal line every once in a while. Jamal Williams is another player who's interesting as a flex piece this week because of how utilized he was in that week 1 game, how productive he was able to be as well. So we'll see how that all factors in here. But at the end of the day, the matchup, the production we saw in week 1 from Swift, I think it'll all combine together here and make for a very, very high upside lineup play in this week's matchup. And then finally here, Najee Harris. I apologize if you guys can hear the very loud traffic going on outside my studio right now. Najee Harris, though, against the Raiders, he was very underwhelming, very underproductive in his opening NFL debut against the Buffalo Bills. Under 3 yards per touch, he wasn't very efficient. That's fine. This guy has a 3-down work set. He has the capability to be used on all passing downs, rushing downs, goal line situations. I just love the opportunity for what Najee Harris can provide to this lineup, and he gets a much better matchup this week. You can run the football on the Las Vegas Raiders front 7. And the Steelers are ultimately going to have to do so. Big Ben has been crazy inefficient, crazy underproductive in terms of his yards per attempt as a passer. They have got to become a more balanced football team as this offensive line develops more chemistry and continuity with one another. They're going to start pounding the rock here. We saw Najee Harris have 16 carries in his opening performance, but if he can just find some more creases, find the end zone, he's going to be very productive. And again, this is a matchup I love heading into this week. So that'll do it. Those are my 5 players. I'll see you all in the outro. Alrighty, let me know down in the comment section below what you think of my 5 must-start running backs for Week 2 fantasy football action. Additionally, if you've got any questions about your lineups this week, matchups, trades, whatever the case might be, we've got a ton of content here on the channel to help you through your weeks, every single one of them, for this entire fantasy season. Additionally, I want to be a huge resource and asset to those of you trying to make a run at that fantasy championship this year. If you drop a comment or a question in the comment section below, I'll do my best to get back to you as soon as possible and answer that in a timely fashion if I can get around to you. So thank you so much for watching today's video. Drop down, click that subscribe button one more time. Help us get to 2,000 subscribers. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Go check out some of the other past episodes that we've posted already this week. I think this is either our 4th or 5th video for Week 2 content. So make sure to check that stuff out as well. See you guys later. Peace out.